Hi, everyone. This is Shawn McNamara from Mind Possible, and welcome to Connected, a special presentation about remote viewing. And I'm really grateful to have as my partner in crime for this project, Deborah Lynn Katz, who's the director of the International School of Clairvoyance. So welcome, Deborah. And can you let us know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I've been involved in intuitive work and intuitive development for probably about 28 years now. And as part of the International School of Clairvoyance, we offer quality training in the intuitive and healing arts in classes in remote viewing, clairvoyant reading and healing, and mediumship. And remote viewing is very near and dear to my heart. And also, I'd love to give a shout out for the International Remote Viewing Association, which I've been very involved in, and it's a great place to get further resources and training and practice.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations, because you're the new president of IRVA. So that's really wonderful. I think they're in great hands with you at the helm. So really looking forward to see what happens there in the near future. So congrats. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Deborah's going to help me pretty much judge or analyze the transcripts of the 5 remote viewers who participated with us in a 6-week project. I gave them a target every week for them to use their clairvoyant abilities using the protocols of remote viewing to write down and record the impressions that they receive. I'm going to interrupt myself here for a moment because this is where you can participate if you want to try your psychic abilities. Grab a pen and paper right now, pause this video, and then you look at the details section here on the YouTube video. There you'll find a link for target 1. When you click it, you'll find the coordinate number for the target. And the coordinate number is just 6 digits. They don't really mean anything except that they represent the experience I was having at some place, sometime. And it's the experience that you want to perceive with your psychic mind. The 6 digits is sort of like a keyword when you're doing an internet search in that big database in the sky. And then when you set your intention, impressions will start to come to you, things you see, smell, taste, touch, or feel. So for a few moments, slow down your breathing, relax your body, open your mind, let it be quiet, and then set your intention to perceive whatever is symbolized by those 6 digits, by the coordinate, and then write down everything that comes to you. And then when you're done, keep playing this video and you'll see what the actual target was and how the other remote viewers did. Enjoy. So now we're going to first meet the remote viewers and then we'll start looking at what they came up with over 6 weeks. So here are the remote viewers.
Hi, my name is Elly and Lena. I currently live in New York. I'm an intuitive, an author, an educator, psychic, and the founder of PsyKids Academy, where children and their adults learn to remote view. They practice telepathy. They work on developing their telekinetic skills. And yeah, I love remote viewing and I love teaching and sharing this work. Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Lena. I'm from San Francisco, California. I've been remote viewing with Deborah for about a year. I've been trying to learn as much as I can in her class, and it's been an amazing experience. I'm amazed by all the impressions that the whole class gets, and also by the skills that I'm learning as well. I find it that it really is a skill that I really want to use to help others. Find things or find missing people are my main things that I really would like to master and would like to do in the future.
Hi, I'm Carl Kart. I'm a remote viewer based in Milan, Italy. I started remote viewing in 2001 once I'd finished advanced CRV with Lynn Buchanan. I have also studied medical apps and also the Clairvoyance School with Deborah Lynn Katz. I'm very interested in the drawing part, in the connection between creativity and the unconscious. So other than teaching remote viewing, I'm also teaching body-based therapies, art therapy and movement therapy, which are all ways of connecting the unconscious through the body.
Hey Shawn, Angela Atkinson here, up in Longmont, Colorado, a little bit north of you, and I am, safe to say, obsessed with remote viewing as part of my work and exploration and my training as a psychic and clairvoyant, and worked with Deborah initially on my training, and then for this past year I've been working with Paul Smith to further my capacities, mostly in CRV. And yeah, just really excited to meet everybody and to work with you.
Deborah, my name's Carl Anthony McClelland. I train with Deborah Lynn Katz, PhD, and Stephanie Swartz. Looking forward to being part of the group for this trial. Thank you.
I want to take a moment too to acknowledge the teachers whom these remote viewers have trained under, such as Deborah Katz, our judge, Paul Smith, Lynn Buchanan, Daz Smith, and Stefan Schwartz. And I've learned a lot from Marty Rosenblatt and the other great people at the Applied Precognition Project, and also from the International Remote Viewing Association. So for those of you who wanted to give it a try, you've completed your transcript, and now let's watch the feedback video. This is what you were trying to perceive and what the remote viewers were trying to perceive. Here we are at the Outbounder target site. And the experience is going to be inside that strange building behind me. We're at iFly Denver, an indoor skydiving center. And that's the outside of the building.
Don't become a starfish. Well, I just flew a little while ago and I want to describe my inner experience. I was elated, excited, a lot of adrenaline rushing through me. The wind was tremendously strong, blowing in my face. My nose was running in the tunnel, and it was just a whole lot of fun. And I got to fly up really high on my second flight inside the tunnel, and it was very loud. So maybe the viewers will pick up on a roaring sound. And feeling of movement and elation, excitement. So we'll see what they pick up.
So yeah, Shawn, I thought this was a brilliant target, and I was so excited to see, because I've been to an iFly exhibit before and I've never tried it myself, but it looked like you were having so much fun in there.
It was a great time.
That was such a great idea for a target.
We can start with Angela.
Hey Shawn, scale of 1 to 10 for confidence is probably a 4. I have not done an outbounder target before and have done very little ERV. This was all new to me to figure out where you were and what you were doing and what you were seeing, but you know, did my best with trying to get there, and noticed there was you know, when I bounced back and forth between what I was picking up, observing you, and then actually like embodying you. So looking through your eyes at what you were seeing. So it felt a little staticky, going back and forth between perspectives. Anyway, it is what it is. So it was my first time with this, and so we'll see what it looks like.
Okay. Yeah, I thought Angela did really well because right away she had movement and she had high and elevated and a glass wall.
Yeah, I remember seeing that picture she drew of a person standing in front of a glass partition. And I thought that was perfect because when I was staring into it, watching other people doing the skydiving, that I was the person standing in, or I could have been inside the glass container staring out through the glass wall. So I thought that was a really great direct hit.
Yeah, on page 3, she has, it looks like a bridge or a curve with a person up on top, and she wrote the words "you" up higher than the other people. And she has glass partition, transparent fence divider. And she was also getting something very energetic.
Yeah, it's interesting that she drew me sort of on a bridge or a ladder over above, because when I was inside flying around with the instructor, we did go up above the other people. So in a way, it's like a symbolic representation of the height that I was gaining.
Yeah. And in her summary, which I was really happy to see that she included a summary, that's a really helpful thing that remote viewers are always encouraged to include in their sessions. And she said, you are in an open area, people around, but apart from you. She could hear muffled voices. And she said she had a sense of you in an arched walkway or elevated platform looking down, separated by a partition, but also of you looking through a separating partition.
You know, the other interesting thing about her saying that I'm looking down and it shows me up above is when I was in there, it wasn't a solid floor beneath me and the instructor. It's actually wired netting because there's a massive fan sucking air up through there. So it's almost like a little trampoline type thing, but it's just a big, long hole beneath me. So there is that sense of looking down and something being down there. So I think she did a fabulous job of picking up some elements. Yeah. So next is Carl.
Hi, Shawn and Deborah. So 30 seconds. It all felt, as I've put in the summary, quite themed, not real, but sort of the illusion of being real, but it did feel contained in sort of tanks with the tubes I mentioned, and a lot of focus on the tubes, colours, and definitely on the illusion, meant to be real and free and outside, but contained. Goodbye from sunny Edinburgh, thank you.
And Carl's great because it's nice to work with a remote viewer from outside the United States. It's great. It's such an international activity, and hopefully it'll expand more in other countries.
Yeah, he's from the UK, but he's been doing some remote viewing work in South Africa. And I think he was actually in South Africa when he did some of these sessions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he said in his summary, from the very start of this session, I felt outdoors, but it was somehow enclosed, like in a tunnel or tube type structure, confined, but with the illusion of being free. Would you say that makes sense?
That's amazing, because that's kind of the illusion of an indoor skydiving center. It gives you the illusion of being free diving through the sky at 10,000 feet, but you're not. You're safely at ground level. So I thought that was wonderful.
Yeah, he went on to say there were lights or something similar that displayed shapes and energies. These were green and blue in color. And it all felt on an entertainment level, like a show or stage for people's benefits.
Yeah, it did have that stage quality because there are people sitting around watching and it's entertaining for them as well as for the people inside. So,
would you say describing it like a tube makes sense?
yeah, I'll put up a picture of the whole building because in concrete on the outside, you can see sort of where the air vents go. And it really is functionally one long tube in the building blowing air up, and we're just trapped in the middle of it. So it's an excellent description of the function, the mechanism of the building. It's basically a big long tube filled with high pressured air.
Wow. And he said it all felt very false, staged, like you would find at a theme park or Disney World. And I thought that was an excellent impression because it is very staged and false as an activity. And also, the one time that I went to an iFly, what would you call it? It wasn't a full building. It was actually at Universal Studios in their walkway through the mall area. And so it wasn't at Disney World, but it was at Universal Studios. And they had one of those there.
Wow. That's a good example of, I think, when people's minds go out and connect through the ether to the target, the mind is actually going to pick up other connections that are related. So if these iFly centers are located in an amusement park, the mind knows that. It's that powerful and expansive.
Yeah, like it was interesting because he wasn't describing like someone just flying through the air as if this was actually skydiving. So that element seemed to really be picked up here. And I thought in some of the other viewer sessions as well, that this was something that was behind glass or stage as opposed to just somebody free flying through the air out in nature. I suspect we would have gotten very different impressions if that had been the target.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great. Should we look at corals?
Yeah.
Hi, Shawn. So I did the session. My sensations were a little bit of trepidation at first because of the feedback loop with the tasker, and normally if I know my task, if I've worked with a tasker well and there's a reciprocal relationship, then my work is better. So because of performance anxiety, I wanted my work to be good, and I didn't really, it's like the first time directly, so that was, but it's just that first hurdle, and once you get into it, I had an enjoyable experience. It was fascinating and very nice. Bye.
So I'm just reading her summary. Again, she did a great job. She actually typed up her words to make it easier for us to read, which is really great for a remote viewer to do for their analyst or their judge.
Yeah, she said it feels as though there are big, spacious, paneled wooden and iron and glassy windows and interior space. There are different levels. There is a sense of anticipation and excitement, as well as a sense of pleasure and relaxation. Now, I'm not sure how relaxed you were, but definitely the anticipation and excitement. What do you think of that?
Yeah, definitely the anticipation and excitement over there. I think maybe the relaxation afterward, because there's this adrenaline rush that comes over you and you're inside, but then afterward there's the coming down period. It's like, oh wow, that was something else. So definitely a relaxing feeling afterward on the come down.
Now, one question people might have for you is when you were tasking the viewers, how large of a time frame or period did you give them in which to be observing where you were?
So it was about a 45-minute window, or at least a half hour. So pretty small window for them to zoom in on in the space of what could have been any time frame in the universe.
Yeah.
Should we look at Elly?
Sure.
My level of confidence, well, it wasn't on a 10. I am confident that there's something fabric-like at the site. It almost felt, doing an AOL, it almost felt like a parachute or a covering or an awning. I did see red and white. I feel very confident about the red and white colors there and the feeling of playfulness. So, yeah, all right. Thanks, bye.
So Elly had on her page 2, she had a spinning movement, and she has kind of a dome structure with some columns and spaces in the middle. Does that look like the thing that you were in? What would you call that you were inside?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Just that glass box thing. But what's interesting is where she drew that little structure on that page on the right-hand side, it looks like the building from the outside, because it's basically 2 towers and there's a central tower, and she draws a central tower, but it's shorter. But it's basically 3 towers there she drew, and that's sort of what it looks like from the outside.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I remember you did in your feedback include the outside of the building, which is a very interesting building. I'm assuming you were at the one in Denver.
Mm-hmm. No.
And Carl, he had a drawing in his of what looked like the outside of the building, because it seems like there's 3 different sections. And I felt like while it wasn't a perfect rendition, it did seem to match the outside of the building. And that was included in the feedback.
And that's something we know that happens with remote viewing sometimes, even though the target might be in a specific part of the environment, like inside a building, the mind often will go outside and give you more than you asked for. Like, here's what you were experiencing inside, but here's what the whole building and the surroundings can look like. The mind will do that sometimes, which is interesting and sometimes can be quite aggravating.
Well, that also speaks to what are the viewers doing at the time they're doing their sessions, because many have been trained to do movement commands, and they don't always know which ones should they do. So a very common one is to move yourself up above 500 feet or 1,000 feet above the target. And that's where that can be very helpful sometimes if the target is an entire location. And I think, as we'll see with some of these later ones, occasionally that was really the right thing for the viewers to do, was go up above and get that bird's eye view. But if the target was really supposed to be close up inside, that can take somebody away from really the focal point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, so another thing from Elly's transcript on her other page is her AOL at the bottom, or analytical overlay, which is basically when the conscious mind is just trying to guess or put a description about what they're perceiving. But she writes parachute, which is like a perfect symbol for what I was experiencing.
Yeah. Because, keeping in mind, sometimes when people are getting these impressions, they come in so quick and so fast. So if someone were to just, even in a split second, see you flying there with your arms out, but then you do have something over you, kind of I think it's kind of dome shape. So that would look like a parachute.
Yeah, so I think she was definitely picking up on the experience with that.
And she got noise. It seemed like a lot of the viewers had noise. Oh, she has wind and windy. That's a very important detail. In fact, if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have even had yourself lifting up. And so this is another thing that's really interesting. In just any kind of outdoor target, if a viewer put wind, which typically they don't do unless there's something important about it. Mm-hmm. But that's a very important impression that she picked up on.
Yeah, because it was roaring. The air was roaring inside. So the wind was significant.
Yeah. And she got noise and laughter and children. I'm assuming there were children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice work, Elly.
Yeah. So then we have Lena.
My confidence level would be 85% as of now. I was feeling very tired as I was doing the sketches and things like that. And I did meditate before starting as well, FYI. I did just a 10-minute meditation. Not even 10 actually, I just did 7 minutes. I did feel a lot of like circulated, like sort of like something with the hands, like the hands and the movement of a circle was coming through a lot. I also felt like soft bed feeling to touch, like a pillow sort of touch or a cushion sort of touch.
So Lena had a lot of motion, and she felt the motion was swirling in circles, which I noticed a couple other viewers did as well. And I wonder about that. Does that make any sense as far as what you were experiencing inside?
Mm-hmm. Because when I was inside with my arms outstretched and the instructor next to me, sometimes together, he'd be flying with me and we would turn in circles. And that's a pretty common movement in those indoor skydiving centers, just spinning around a little bit. You kind of want to control it, but sometimes it's just fun to do. I don't remember how much, the video shows how much I did, but right now I can't remember exactly. But the spinning component, I think, is really a good hit for this. And even if it's not reflecting me spinning, there is a giant fan inside that building blowing the air, and it's spinning, this huge spinning mechanism. So maybe that's what she was picking up on.
Well, I noticed just about every viewer seemed to have that spinning motion. And, if just one person had it, I not really understanding it so much, or not having been there myself, I would have just rejected it. But when you see something like that in the majority of sessions, then you have to wonder if there's something that their subconscious is telling us that we may not quite understand.
That's a good point, too. That as a judge or an analyst, sometimes we don't see something that's right there on paper. We have to be hit over the head a few times before, like, oh, I need to notice that. That probably is important. So on her second page, she draws this tube-like structure with arrows going into it. And I don't know what she meant, what she felt in her mind to draw that. But it's like in Carl's transcript where he describes a tube, and here she's drawing a tube. So again, just like what you talked about, when something's showing up on multiple transcripts, we have to pay attention to that.
You know what? I now remember in your feedback video, there are all these tubes that you show. They're not in the chamber with you. I believe they're right outside.
They're in the ceiling, yes, surrounding these huge white venting tubes. There are so many of them, like an industrial building. And that tube on her transcript looks just like one of them.
Yes, and Carl had several in his transcript as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, and she does say something about Airway. She says, Airway, temperature is a bit chilly at this location.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember off the top of my head what the temperature was like, but with that much air blowing, and this is Colorado air, I bet there probably was a little bit of coolness inside to it. Okay, so overall, who do you think was most connected on this one?
Well, I believe that Angela overall had the most matching impressions.
Mm-hmm.
just because she did place you up higher in the air. And so I would say, yes, she had if we're going with the sheer number of matching impressions, I would say that she did.
Yeah. That, and drawing the person in front of a glass partition, I mean, that just blew me away. I also like Elly in her AOL of a parachute. That was great. And then the others where they drew tubes and referenced the movement. You know, everyone got something, which I thought was great. But I'm with you there that Angela really got the most number of components on one transcript. So
yeah. I do want to say that I really appreciate that Coral included a written summary. All of the viewers have been trained to submit written summaries and final overall compilation sketches. And I know sometimes they don't always have the time to do them, but it's so much easier reading these when they're typed out afterwards. And I really appreciate that Coral did that for all of her sessions, just about all of them.
Thanks, Coral. That's an important note because there are professional remote viewers who are hired by people to help them gain information. So as part of being a professional, it is that presentation of your product that you're giving your client. So I think this is a good example of that. Yeah.